All aboard! It's another edition of 310 to Left. The train is leaving the station once again. The conductor, Alex Spear of the Boston Globe, is standing by. I'm just the brakeman, Tom Cairn from Nesson. How are you this week, Alex?
Just shoveling coal. Just shoveling coal.
I've been accused of shoveling other stuff, so that's fine. We need conductors' hats. That's what we need for this podcast. If you're watching
So
it,
noted. We'll make sure the budget allows for that. Yeah.
In all, again, tangentially, what you once left me a captain's hat for my boat. So you are, as Troop Parkinson is to gorilla suits, you are to hats, I guess.
We're coming up. We need to plan out a long time in advance the 20th anniversary of the gorilla suit episode. That's right? Going to be a memorable one. Yeah, I think that one probably has a little more staying power in Red Sox lore than the two of us wearing conductors' hats.
We need to find the pizza delivery guy from that night. That would be, that's investigative reporter. Has the oral history of the pizza delivery guy bringing pizzas and Theo getting in the gorilla suit and leaving. But I digress, as I do. The focus this week is going to be the St. Louis Cardinals as the Red Sox head out there for the interleague weekend, the iconic franchises. And in the middle of it all is going to be Tyler O'Neill, traded from the Cardinals to the Red Sox this offseason. We'll talk about him and talk with him in just a little bit. He'll be joining us to talk about the weekend ahead. But I want to start this week, Alex, by talking about this offense and how they will generate the necessary runs to win games. And that 12-inning win the other night against the Tampa Bay Rays was you're not going to hang it in a Louvre anytime soon, but it was a grinded-out win. And it seemed to be the template by which Alex Cora is going to have to try to manage these things. Just try to scratch and claw and get enough offense to win a game.
They're playing and competing the hard way. This is low scoring baseball where we're not used to really the Red Sox being a pitching and defense team that's trying to be opportunistic and cobbling together with sacrifice bunts, winning game tying and game winning rallies. But here we are, and that's a hard way to play. That is a hard way to play over the course of the season. That's a tiring way to play. We've seen it work out in the past. I think back to the 2017 season when the Red Sox had a young core that was largely underperforming, right? Like that was after breakout seasons across the board for Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts and Jackie Bradley Jr. when they had all been all-stars in 2016. In 17, the same results didn't come, and the Red Sox just had to have kind of layer after layer of bullpen guy coming in and contributing. With their success was predicated on winning extra inning games, which was exhausting over the course of a season. They managed to walk that high wire for the long term, but we have also seen it work the other way, where Red Sox teams that struggle to score runs can have flashes of pitching brilliance that looks like, oh my gosh, can they win the hard way? And then it all falls apart. Like in 2014, they were a team that had tremendous pitching at the top, but the offense was just non-existent. And again, getting to that young core that we were just talking about, and that was when they were in a deeper period of struggle as they were transitioning to the big leagues. And they could not find a sustainable formula for victory, and it ended up trading everyone, or at least all their veterans, away in the middle of that season. So it's a hard way to win, and one that can divide like a sinker and a slider.
Well, yeah, and it also leaves a very thin margin for error, right? A day after that 12-inning win, 3 unearned runs. The Red Sox have been much better defensively over the most recent 20 games compared to the first 20 games. I had 26 unearned runs in the first 20 games. It's been much better since this, but when you add it all up, they have still allowed the most unearned runs of any team in Major League Baseball. 3 of the 4 unearned runs in that Wednesday night game, leading to the 4-3 win for Tampa Bay. They've got to play, almost spotless defense if you're going to try to win games this way, right?
Right. You can't engage in acts of self-sabotage if you don't have a huge margin for error, which is where they're at offensively. So, yeah, they need to be able to, the reason why they've hung around is because, and Alex Cora has talked about this a lot. He said, look, our pitching has a chance to be really good and to keep us in it, but only if it's backed up by defense that's making all of the plays that we need them to make. And you're 100% right, Tom, that like this now represents an aberration, where it was when Cedar Rafaela made that throwing error in extra innings against the Rays on Tuesday night. It was like, oh, we'd seen that before, but not for a while, and they need to avoid having that become now a pattern, because their defensive execution has been really pretty darn impressive. And they're preventing runs. They're doing a good job, especially in the outfield, of providing excellent support for the defense. We're seeing Jarren Duran make really nice strides in center field, and allowing a lot of the other parts to kind of fit together. But yeah, if they start giving away runs, then they're in trouble, because they don't score enough runs to do that.
Pitching wise, it's been very good. Obviously, it's still the lowest. I think the only team still with an ERA under 3 as a staff, and ostensibly getting better. Right, Pivetta is back. Home run's been an issue since coming back. Obviously, he's got to get that back under control. Brian Bayo came back the other day, and you got to see Garrett Whitlock this week in Worcester with the Red Sox. He looked good by all accounts. What'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, just there was comfort in his delivery, and he was able to land his sinker at 94, 95 out of the chute. The velocity tapered down a little bit as he got into the middle innings. He was more 92 to 93 at the end, but able to execute in the locations more or less that he was trying to. The sweeper was fantastic, so good in fact that he's stopped fighting the battle about whether or not to call it a sweeper. He recognizes that that's no longer the hill to die on. So he said, yeah, the sweeper was really good, but it was terrific. It was overwhelming for AAA hitters. We'll see how it translates to the big leagues, but the command of it was exactly what he wanted in the counts that he wanted it. The changeup and the changeup was still kind of searching for consistency with it, I thought, a little bit, and the gyro slider wasn't employed quite as extensively. But from the standpoint of how he feels and what he believes he can execute, he's in a good spot to be able to come back, and probably out of the chute. Is it going to be 5-6 innings? Not sure about that, but by that second start, probably will be.
And all this leads to the tough decisions. They've already made one, right? Josh Winkowski was there, came in. Yeah, we're going to send him to Worcester and groom him to be a starter. He'll go every 5th day as a starting pitcher. Well, he comes in to finish an inning after Whitlock, and then goes the next couple. And I thought it was really interesting that Craig Breslow on our pregame show, about as blunt as I've heard him on anyone, saying that, listen, we know he's a major league pitcher. We can't say with any certainty he's a major league starter. I know they want him to refine his pitches, separate a little bit more between pitches, maybe master a third pitch. But that was one decision, what to do with Winkowski. He's sent down. Now you've got Cooper Criswell, who's pitched really well for the Red Sox and gives them depth. They could probably go 6 for this busy stretch, go a 6-man rotation when Whitlock comes back. But eventually, they're going to be tough decisions. And all of this represents how far they've come, right? What Alex Cora has been asking for the last couple of years, major league ready starting depth. They're finally getting there, aren't they?
They have more than 13 major league pitchers right now, which is a position that it's been a long time since we've seen them making option decisions like Winkowski. Winkowski is someone who's been very effective at the big league level since the beginning of the 2023 season, at least in terms of outcomes and results, which is what matters, frankly. But right now we're in an era that's so focused on what's under the hood that it's like, well, even Winkowski, when I talked to him yesterday, was like, my ERA speaks for itself, but my WOBA and ex-WOBA aren't what they need to be because I'm not striking out enough guys. So that's what I've got to work on. And the fact that they have a guy like a Winkowski, who is a major league quality pitcher, but the Red Sox want to see if they can take him to another level, see if they can get some consistent swing and miss from him and allow him to develop more in the minors. That's a transformation of where the organization is. And it's I think an unexpected one, given the skepticism that a lot of us had about what they did and more particularly did not do over the course of the offseason. But they deserve a lot of credit for having done a lot of work. And the pitchers themselves, of course, deserve the most credit for the way that they're executing, for the way that they're adapting in ways that have given the Sox literally at any given time this year 13 quality major league options on their pitching staff.
All right, interesting to see how it plays out this weekend. It's against a Cardinals team that has people in an uproar out in St. Louis, and one of their more popular players, and a few years ago, one of their best players before injuries, Tyler O'Neill, won a couple of Gold Gloves with the Cardinals, top 10 MVP voting back in 2021 with the Cardinals. Now playing with the Red Sox, and got off to such a tremendous start. Had that collision with Rafi Devers, the concussion symptoms, concussion that he went through for a few days. Now he's back. Wearing sleeves from time to time because Major League Baseball demands it. You'll be happy to know that both Alex and I did wear sleeves for this podcast, though we had talked about going sleeveless with conductor hats. That's something we'll try later. But this is all further ado. So without further ado, let's get to this week's interview. It's Tyler O'Neill, the former Cardinal, now Boston Red Sox outfielder on 310 to Left. Joined this week by Red Sox outfielder Tyler O'Neill. Worlds colliding a bit for you this weekend here, Tyler. Going back to St. Louis after your time there. What's it going to be like for you this weekend? I'm sure you get to see some friends and visit some old haunts. What's it going to be like coming in as a visitor to St. Louis?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. My wife and I, we still spend the off season out in St. Louis. We've got a house there. So that's home base for us for now. So I'm looking forward to getting home for a little bit. Obviously built a lot of good relationships with many people over there. So I'm looking forward to seeing some people over the weekend, playing in the ballpark again, man. It'll be fun.
You've played for two iconic franchises, and people talk about the Cardinal Way. What was it like to come up in that organization, and what does the Cardinal Way mean to you?
Yeah, it was awesome. So I got traded over in 2017. I was in AAA actually with the Mariners at the time, and then I was traded over in 2017 around the deadline. Finished out the season over there and spent one spring training out in Jupiter, Florida, before being able to crack the team early in April that year. So. It was good, man. They focus a lot on fundamentals. Obviously, the rich historic franchise. There's a reason they've had so much success over the years. It starts with the fundamentals, like I said, like defense, base running, doing the little things right. So that was instilled in me early on, and really propelled me. Got me moving in the right way. In all facets of my game early in my career.
Tyler, on this podcast, we ask the tough question, so I got to ask you the big one. Which spring is colder for a fan of the sleeveless look? Is it tougher to be sleeveless in Boston in April or in St. Louis in April?
They don't let us come. Well, it's not they don't let us, but it wasn't really a thing to cut off the shirts over there. So, over here it's a little more rowdy, which I kind of like. Me and Duran, we kind of got that going. For BP, suns out, guns out, we call it. So we gotta work on the shoulder tan line. It's a work in progress, of course.
It's a shame that you were traded from Seattle early in your career before you got to debut there. You could have been sleeveless in Seattle, and we would have had a whole thing to unspool for your career. But as we do think about like kind of some of your movements around to different organizations, I guess. How attentive are you to how much do you pay attention to what's happening with the Cardinals? Are you like, oh, they're missing some outfield production over there, or do you kind of focus on where your feet are?
Yeah, I've been following those guys for maybe a little over a week now. I like to do my due diligence with my scouting reports and stuff. So, I'm just keeping an eye on what those guys look like. Good to see them throwing some runs on the board. See the boys doing well as of late. Obviously I want to go in there and sweep them at home. That would be really sweet for me. But yeah, man, it's cool. I'm still rooting for those guys over there. A lot of good guys, like I said, a lot of good teammates and stuff. So hope nothing but positive results for those guys. But obviously when we play them, want to take it to them.
It is interesting to think about some of your career movement, not just from the standpoint of what it's meant on the field, and we should get to that in a little bit, but also, I'm curious about how I get the sense you're a passionate sports fan, particularly with hockey, right? Grew up in BC, had, you were going to be able to stay in the Northwest and be, like every once in a while, probably drive up to Vancouver for hockey games, and you stayed around with Mariners. Didn't so much happen that way. you were in St. Louis when they beat the Bruins in the Stanley Cup Finals. Now you are in Boston. How much do you allow your allegiances to transfer? How much are you a Bruins fan in this playoff run?
I know it feels like my hockey team keeps changing, man. Obviously I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan at heart, growing up like that. Followed the Blues for a few years there, man. They had a good run, when I was playing out in St. Louis. So it was good to see those guys. Went to a couple playoff games. Unfortunately, last couple of years, man, I haven't been able to keep up too much with hockey and playoff stuff. I got a kid at home, and just time is a little shorter and a little more sparse than it used to be. But yeah, I'm a Canucks fan, man. We're playing the Oilers right now, so it's a dogfight of the series. So rooting for those guys right now. But yeah, I've been itching to get out to a Bruins game, man. Obviously, so much rich history over there too. Original 16, just such iconic colors, and just such awesome fan base out here. Rooting for those guys would be an awesome atmosphere to be into.
These things can change, obviously, but as we sit here, we could have a rematch in the finals. You could have the Bruins against the Canucks. And, you're becoming a really popular guy in Boston. Would you try to lay low a little bit if that was happening?
I know it's tugging on two ends of the pole there for me. That would be awesome, man. If it came to a Vancouver Canucks Boston Bruins finale, man, I'm gonna be there for sure. Just don't know what kind of uni I'm gonna show up in yet. We'll see.
You got to get one of those where they sew the two together, right? We have the half Bruins, half Canucks shirts.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
You got to get a custom tailor for that one.
It seems like you've done okay in just going with the tailoring with the Red Sox, right? I think that you've been able to make a pretty favorable first impression in your new baseball uniform without having to sew anything together. As I went around the clubhouse recently asking people, describe Tyler O'Neill for me as a player, I think that I heard 6 different people say intense. Do you view yourself as intense? And if so, where does that come from?
Yeah, I'm definitely intense out there, man. I'm a competitor and I want to win, and that's the first thought that comes to my mind. So, I think this year I took a mature curve, and I'm just trying to be a tough out at the plate. Most of the time I'm not trying to do too much. Sometimes get caught up in the moment a little bit, but for me it's just about slowing it down, taming it down, and reeling it in a little bit, not trying to do too much, using the whole field, take a walk when it's coming my way. And that's a key for me too. And it's more mental than anything, of course. Obviously I'm all, jacked up and wired up. I love being in the weight room. I love just getting after it and going hard and stuff. But, for me, that's my challenge, being able to reel it in and take it back and being able to be calm and focused. So, I kind of tug on a couple different things I lean on a couple of different things to balance that out for me a little bit. But, I wouldn't have it any other way. I want to be intense. I want to be a competitor, and I want to be dialed like that. So, yeah, it's just about being able to balance it on a day-to-day basis. The game is 160 games in a row, man. It's a long season. So it's that mental grind and being able, like I said, just to balance it all.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about the desire to use all fields, right? And you've done some very intentional pregame work where, you've been trying to get angles of front flips, front toss in order to be able to drive the ball to right field. At the same time, in games, you're pulling the ball in the air a ton, right? You are more than probably any other time in your career, and that's worked pretty well. That's a not a bad formula, especially if you're playing games at Fenway Park. I'm interested in your offensive approach, and as when you see that when you know that the results can be very rewarding for pulling the ball in the air at Fenway, how do you reinforce to yourself, no, I want to use all fields, and why?
Yeah, 100%. I love that green monster, first and foremost. It's awesome. 310 feet, you put it in the air, you're going to have a chance for some slug over there. So it's tempting. It's tempting all the time. And, I feel like, I've gone through a bit of a stretch, over the last couple of weeks where I have been a little more pull happy than I'd like. And it's leaked into my work and it's leaked into the game. And, for me, that kind of comes with discipline. It comes with discipline with my pregame work and my preparation, everything. I was just feel a little frustrated. I was barreling a lot of balls, but I was pulling them foul. It was probably happening for about 2 weeks in a row, and obviously that's not what you want. You want to catch something right and keep it in play and end the at bat and cause that damage that way, and not give the pitcher extra strikes. So I feel like I've kind of gone through that phase a little bit, and I'm working through it, and I'm working out of it. So I'm really just trying to work on opening up the field again. Really, really being able just to, feel confident to be able to see the ball deep. I'm not trying to force anything to right field or push it over that way, but being able to see the ball deep and then trusting my prep to, make sure my barrel's on plane and being able to use all parts of the field. So, I feel like I've done a little better job of that, but I can still improve, of course.
You try to use all fields at the plate. You're also defending all fields at Fenway, right? You're going back and forth, sometimes within games, quite often now. Within a game, you're flipping from left to right, and they couldn't be more different, right? What is that like, and what are the biggest challenges and differences between that right field, where if it gets by you, it's going to rattle around forever, and that left field, where it's going to ping pong off the wall right back at you? What's that been like for you?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Obviously they're very unique positions, even though they're both in the corner. But I feel like I see the ball really well in the corner. Left field, there's just not a lot of ground to cover, so I'm just trying to play like a step or two shallower than I normally would. Haven't had too many tests off the wall yet, but I feel relatively comfortable out there, and I can trust my athleticism on my arm to be able to make a strong throw to second. And then right field, just really have to get on your horse. Obviously a lot of ground to cover. Can't underestimate the corner. A ball gets rolling in there, it can kind of bounce around a little bit. So make sure I'm fielding the ball cleanly, setting my feet and then making a proper throw. So again, for me, it just comes down to fundamentals, slowing the game down, slowing my feet down, and just trusting my defensive ability. I don't try to think about it too much. Just understand the situation of the game and make sure I'm throwing to the right guy.
Alex will attest, when Manny Ramirez played left field for all those years, there was actually a worn out spot, maybe about a third of the way behind the shortstop, because he stood in the same spot every day. Right. And he almost looked down for it. Okay, I'm in the right place. If it gets by me, it's going to bounce back to me. Have you found that spot yet, or do you move around a lot in left field?
Yeah, it's funny. As the season goes on, you kind of start to see the wear patterns of where outfielders play in the specific positions. So there's a couple forming out there. Obviously we have our in-game cards, so it gives us an idea of where to stand based off of a reference point. But it's just getting comfortable out there. It's just reps, more reps. But yeah, there's not too much moving around over there. I just want to make sure I'm taking away the line drive in front of me, and try not to give up extra bases over my head as best I can.
Your defensive credentials are considerable. You're a multi-time Gold Glove winner. At the same time, like I knew that when you were coming here on opening day in Seattle, you blew my mind. Like you came in on a throw, you fielded the ball cleanly and made a throw at full speed, and then did a front somersault in the air, aerial acrobatics, and I was like, what just happened? I had not recalled seeing one that was executed with that kind of precision, flying through the air. I showed it to my kids the next day. Like they were both kind of losing their minds with like, what is that? There are a lot of names for this kind of throw. I'm not sure how much you've explored that. There's the janitor throw because of there's a YouTube thing on the idea of the janitor throw. Jaron Duran called it that, but then said, no, we got to give it something better, like the TO special or something. I think that there was a former famous politician based out of Massachusetts named Tip O'Neill, so I think Flip O'Neill would be pretty good. But how much thought have you given to that, and how much do you love that play?
I like that Flip O'Neill, man. That sounds good. Yeah, I don't know. I just broke it out a few years ago. I've really been working on my arm strength the last 2 years, making sure that I'm keeping that up. So it just kind of came to fruition when I was just playing long toss and trying to stay loose, like like we were talking about earlier in the show. Very tight, very wound up. So I need to work on like reeling it back and being loose, being flexible, being mobile and stuff. So just, I'm tinkering and exploring, and I'm always trying to find ways to be better. And then I just started kind of, not really like decelerating playing catch and playing long toss, just kind of rolling through it and throwing through it. And then I just got more comfortable and more accurate with it as I went on. I found the confidence to break it out in the game, shortly thereafter, and started being relatively accurate with it. So, it's just I'd rather just roll through it than kind of pull up hard on it, if that makes sense. I feel like I get more on the throw that way. I feel like I'm relatively accurate that way as well. So as long as I'm not all over the yard, and once in a while it's going to happen. You're going to throw balls away, and just stuff like that happens. But just trying to keep the ball down, make sure the trail runners aren't taking extra bases on me when I do it. But, I have a relatively good idea. Once I release the ball, it's like I don't even need to look where it's going. Like, I know if it's going to be online or not as soon as I release that ball, and that's exactly what I practice for.
Do you remember the first person you do you remember the first person you threw out with the throw?
I think it was either in 22. I think it was in 22. I threw out Colton Wong at home plate against those Cards versus Brewers. And yeah, I just base hit right at me and just came up throwing, just let it rip, and it was right on the money.
You should have done like a backflip in order to celebrate it, right? Like your, St. Louis Cardinals go full Ozzie Smith on the celebration of that.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do a backflip. I'm still working on the front flip. I'm working on it.
The double flip O'Neill will come later. What blows me away though is how you stick the landing. I mean, that's the more I watch these now. Like you're almost coming into a pose. It's Marvel Comics-ish to be like you get the throw off and you've got this down now where your arm's sort of on your knee and you're watching the throw go in. How much practice did that take?
It's just athleticism. I gotta say, like I said, like I'm not practicing like a full flip and roll through like when I'm playing catch. But when we're warming up and doing pregame stuff, I'm definitely making sure that I'm stretching it out. I'm getting all the way out there, and I'm just rolling through it. I'm rolling through it the right way. Anything that happens after the throw, I don't even think about. It just kind of happens. But obviously, I'm lined up the right way if I'm landing in a relatively athletic position. Sometimes it might not be as pretty. We'll see. It's not the last time I'm going to execute the throw. So we have a couple more opportunities. I still haven't got a guy yet this year, so I'm working on it still.
So you also have time to work on the backflip to celebrate it. So we'll keep we'll be watching for that. It is interesting though, right? Because like part of the reason why that's such a it's such a striking demonstration of athleticism is because like your movements are really compact within that. And I'm curious, like as you obviously, like I don't think this is a secret. You spend some time in the weight room, right? Like you have kind of a very compact, powerful frame. Like how much do you try to within, because of that, how important is it to find ways of making of balancing athleticism with like these compact movements to kind of allow the strength that you have to kind of pour into what you're doing on a baseball field?
Yeah, I think like I'm in a really good spot when it comes to my prep and my weight room routine and stuff. I'm working with the trainers here in Boston, and these guys are awesome, man. On a day-to-day basis, we're able to adjust and adapt and make sure that I'm feeling as good as I can every day to go out there and compete. So yeah, I'm just making sure that I'm warming up my body the right way and just getting into good position, making sure I'm doing my maintenance, my activations and stuff, and lifting where I can. So yeah, there's a lot of stabilization that core engagement, along with the lifts and the warm up and stuff that I do. So everything we're doing in there is putting me in a good spot to go out and execute and just be able to play, not having to think about my body hurting or anything like that. And obviously, 160 games, man, your body's going to hurt and it's going to change every day and things are going to feel different every day. But from a maintenance standpoint, I'm feeling spot and, I'm able to play, man. And that's a big thing for me is just I'm able to go about the game and think about the situation, not think about things hurting or, other things getting in my head like that. So, I feel like, there's different things that I do every day that would attribute to just general athleticism, but I'm not doing like flipping med ball throws or anything. I'm not for a throw.
So within that though, the fact that you have been able to feel good every day, save for the fact that you got a gaping head wound at one point earlier in the season, but that's separate subject. How good does it feel to be in a position of feeling healthy after on a day-to-day basis after the last couple of years? And like, has it had been a struggle to stay on the field a little bit in 2022, 2023? You had been asked a million times, can you be the player that you were in 2021? How do you feel like you're that player? Do you feel like you're a better version of that? Like how do you feel about the player that you've been while being in the lineup every day?
Yeah, I feel refined for sure. There's obviously, things that I'm gonna have to tinker with and play with in my approach and stuff. And the game changes every day, how you're gonna get attacked and the algorithms and stuff. So I feel like the gear, they give me a really good opportunity to be able to play and be me every day. Cora, he's giving me an off day when I need it. I'm in the lineup pretty much every day. And he trusts me, and or whatever it looks like. I know I'm going to be playing every day, so there's not like that anxiety of am I in there or am I not, or if I go 0 for 4, am I going to be in there? Or it's not like that here. It's like there's a confidence with the staff and with me that they understand the player that I am and that I can be, and they're gonna trust that over 160 games. So there's just like it's more mentally stressless than anything, if that makes sense. So I just feel like, the last couple of years over in St. Louis, it was like I wasn't playing every day. I wouldn't play against certain starters. And just the confidence, it wasn't the same, unfortunately. And that's just kind of the way it went, at the end, the latter stages over there. But it's a different ball game over here, man. So I'm feeling increasingly comfortable, increasingly confident. Obviously right now I've been working through a little bit of a tough stretch, but like just to have the confidence of the staff that like you're going out on the other side better, and that really is able to focus on my really helped me a lot.
When did that happen in St. Louis? Like, when did you have to feel like you were starting to question yourself? Obviously, like the incident last year where I think a lot of people were surprised when, there was kind of this public benching, which, doesn't happen. There's not a ton of that happens across baseball. Did that kind of change your relationship with the Cardinals organization? Was it there that you started having some questions about what your role was with them?
I think it's kind of started in 22, I would say. Unfortunately, I went to arbitration in 22, and that leaked into the season, man. I had like my arbitration hearing in the middle of May, and I wasn't hitting too well, man. It was like it was looming, and it was on my mind, and it was just a really, really shitty experience for me to have to sit in front of. And at this time, it was on a computer. It wasn't in the courtroom because of COVID regulations and stuff. So I had to sit in my hotel room and listen to the team rip on me for 5 hours. And like we all know what we're getting into, man. We both knew what we were getting into going into arbitration, and it's not anyone's fault. Just freshly wipe the slate clean coming into 2023. Fresh beginnings, kind of reset, and go from there. And then obviously the stuff happened earlier in the year. I was working through some stuff, man. I was playing through a bit of like dead leg. It was WBC year, so there was a lot of travel in spring training. I actually had the flu or like food sickness right before the season too, so my body just wasn't in a good spot. I wasn't strong yet, and man, it's just a bad, bad series of events that happened over there. And then, yeah, lost a starting job, man. They just took it from me like a week or two into the season. Really affected my confidence from there. And, just not being able to be in a consistent routine, for my body, man. I'm such a routine oriented person. Like, I need consistency. I need confidence in the people around me. And I just need, I don't know, like the consistency aspect wasn't there for me over there, and it just got in my head, and it affected me. It affected me physically. It affected me mentally, and unfortunately, I was dealing with multiple injuries over the last couple of years. But yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. I was able to finish out the year over there. I'm just happy that I was. It was coming to the point. it was coming to the point with them. Obviously, like it wasn't a question of if I was going to get traded; it was where I was going to get traded to. So it was just a matter of time. So when I got that phone call from our PO man, and he was telling me that I was going to the Boston Red Sox, I was really excited about that. Really excited for a new, fresh start. Really excited to play in a ballpark like Fenway. I was always saying Fenway was my favorite road ballpark to play in before that season. So the irony of going there and playing in a white uniform in Fenway Park was really appealing to me. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it so far. So love where I'm at.
You mentioned arbitration, and like you said, you know what you're getting into, right? I mean, you're professionals. That's part of everything that goes. I don't know if you ever heard this story, being a hockey guy. Mike Milbury, the former Bruin, who was general manager of the New York Islanders, went to arbitration. The goalie was Tommy Salo. It was back in the 90s. And Mike was so loaded for bear for the team that the poor goalie actually broke down in tears in the middle of the arbitration. Like he made such a compelling case. He actually got, and that guy was never the same for them. They had to trade him. They had to move on. Like, it can be an ugly thing. And I know you get through it, but we've heard so many stories over the years. And I bring that up because now, you're entering a free agent year. Did you have to make it a conscious effort to make sure that you're going to move the business part aside, not let that, in any way impact anything that goes on for you on the field this year?
Yeah, like free agent year, arbitration year, whatever it is, man. I'm like just grateful for a fresh start. Wearing a wearing a U uniform, just getting in a new place, new environment, new league. It's all good for me. I'm going into free agency next year, and that's going to be awesome and exciting and stuff. We'll see where that goes. But right now, I'm just focused on Boston, man. I'm focused on Fenway. I'm focused on enjoying it. And like I said, like I really do enjoy it here, man. I'm having a great time with these guys and playing in this ballpark, and it's going as awesome as it could for me. So I just wanna enjoy that and see where it goes over 160 games, and whatever happens in free agency or with Boston in the future, man, we'll see where that goes. But what I can tell you is I'm really enjoying where I'm at right now, and yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, it's been super fun to watch, and I got to ask before you go. You brought up on ESPN the idea of playing in the home run derby, taking part in the home run derby. We won't ask you to lobby for it. We'll do that for you because I think it'd be great. You've got the personality; it'd be a lot of fun. I think you should do it sleeveless if you get the opportunity. You should absolutely do the seamless and then maybe go shag and do a Flip O'Neill while you're out there. You just put on, it's like a skills, like the hockey skills competition. You could put that all together. But have you thought about what that would be like, being able to be part in a marquee event like that in Texas?
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would really be awesome. It'd be a dream come true of mine, to be able to participate in a home run derby. I definitely feel like I have the pop to do it. I have the bat path to do it, and I could compete in there for sure. But I feel like I'm gonna hit more home runs once I open up that right field and start getting base hits the other way. So, that's what I'm focused on right now. But man, that would be an unreal experience for me. So we'll see what happens.
Who'd you have throw? Who would throw?
I think I would get Ramon to throw. Ramon Vasquez, our bench coach. I really like the
Yeah.
way the ball comes out of his hands, just like a true four seam. It's kind of running in on me a little bit. Yeah, I've had some good BPs with Ramon, so we'll see.
It's he's a highly in demand BP thrower, so you'd be in good company. It's good for him to get his spotlight moment as well.
Yeah, we've got to keep him sharp too, just in case. So,
but if he throws to you, he has to go sleeveless too.
All right, I'll see what I can do on that end. That's awesome.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. It's a rating. It'll be a rating spike. It'll be the highest rated home run derby in history. Tyler, we know it's busy. You're in a stretch of a lot of games right now. We really appreciate you taking some time. The one thing I didn't get to is, Alex mentioned the collision. I said on the air that night, there are easier ways to look like a hockey player. I know when you were a kid, you wanted to grow up being a hockey player. 8 stitches above the eye. We knew you were tough. You didn't have to do it. But what's it been like coming back from that? Because it's not a knee, it's not a shoulder, it's not, it's your head. Like, how scary was that for a couple of days?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I've never had a concussion or anything like that before. Rafi's a big boy, man. He knocked me pretty good. We're both trying to go get the baseball there. It's just a terrible play, man. Those in-betweeners where two guys are going together. Those are the worst plays in baseball. So, unfortunately we bonked heads there, and it happens like that. But yeah, man, I was foggy for a couple days. Like I couldn't think right. Things were slow. Like there was just this like marine layer about everything that was going on with me for a little while, and that took like 3 days, 3+ days to get by. So I was like, I wasn't sure what it was going to look like for a few days there. I didn't know if like this is kind of if this is what it is now, or like if this is going to take a week to go away or something. But about a 3 or 4 day mark, I kind of started to feel a little better. And then it was just kind of dealing with like headaches and fatigue, man. I was just like mentally fatigued like very quickly for a few more days after that. I probably came back like right on the cusp of if I was ready or if I needed a couple more days, but I really didn't want to like be out for more than a week there, because then I would have felt behind, and borderline would have had to go get some at bats and a rehab assignment or something to catch back up. So I'm happy with how it all went down, man. The doctors took really good care of me. They stitched me up good. I feel like everything's healing pretty well right now. It was the sunglasses that got me. It wasn't even really Rafi or anyone that cut me up, but the sunglasses just gouged me up real bad. But no, they stitched me up good, and they gave me the necessary rest, and just didn't throw me to the hounds to the media or anything, or like put me on a specific timetable. Like Cora, like they all handled it really well. Cora and Breslow gave me some space and gave me what I needed to do. And that put me in a good spot to come back as soon as I could, without as much stress as it could have involved. So I'm really appreciative for, obviously I don't appreciate the event and how it happened, but really appreciated everything that went on after that, and how it was all handled.
Well, we're glad you got back as quickly as you did. And again, enjoy the weekend in St. Louis. Go show them what the Sox are all about. We appreciate the visit, Tyler. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me today.
Great interview, and really fascinating guy, Alex, in a lot of ways. And we didn't even get into his dad being Mr. Canada, the fact that he plays the piano. I mean, we'll do all that after the home run derby. But I just think it'll be interesting to see, as good as this outfield has been, if there's any consideration of trying to keep him around, because he is the kind of guy who is a really good fit here in Boston.
Yes, really seems to light up with the environment. Alex Cora talked about it even before his first home game at Fenway, that he thought that this was going to be a guy who Red Sox fans would love. And I think that thus far he's right. The production has been terrific. The swing obviously works very, very well at Fenway. The connection to kind of the dynamics of what it's like playing in Boston, that's a big check mark at the outset. So yeah, it is interesting to imagine the future and what that could look like, because the Red Sox do have not only Wilyer Abreu and Jarren Duran, but they also have Roman Anthony not too far off on the horizon. But when you have a player who's a good fit, it's important not to take that for granted.
Also, if you're out of it in July, he's the kind of guy who could represent a pretty valuable trade piece for a contender, right? So this could go any number of ways over the next few months.
The forking roads that are in front of us, and yeah, I guess it's a bit of a choose your own adventure for the Red Sox, right? Insofar as if they perform well, then they're going to then they're going to keep some of those July questions at bay. But yeah, that's that would be a separate conversation and then they're potentially opening up the avenue for reinforcements, not just from a health standpoint, where we know that Tristan Casas should be coming back by the middle of the season, and you start to have a different look to your depth. But also, I do think that this is an organization that is going to be pretty responsive to where it's at in the standings this year.
By the way, the Forking Roads was originally under consideration for the name of this podcast, but it was shot down by the powers that be. And you do your minor details. Usually we talk about what's happening in minors, but congratulations to Roman Anthony, friend of the show, who was with us last week. Hit his first home run as a 20-year-old. the day after his birthday this week on a game that, once again, Marcelo Myers was the big story. And Marcelo Meyer had 3 hits in that game, a couple of doubles. So that group in Portland just continues to impress, doesn't it?
They do, and I actually want to kind of point out a guy who's less known there. Actually, just wrote a story in the Globe about Zach Penrod. Speaking of forking roads, Zach Penrod is a guy who the Red Sox signed out of the indie leagues last summer. He was thinking hard about retiring at the age of 26 because it had been 5 years since he had pitched in a game for an affiliate. He had never pitched above rookie ball when he had been in the Rangers organization before he was released in the middle of the 2020 height of the COVID crisis, and he was in his 3rd year in indie ball last year and wondering maybe I should contemplate something a little bit different with my life. But for the Missoula Paddleheads, he was throwing 96, 97 miles an hour with a changeup and slider. The Red Sox just needed innings to survive in Greenville. Saw him as a guy with a little bit of upside. Ended up signing him late in the season. He made 4 starts in Greenville and then more in the postseason for the Drive in their championship run, and ended up being sent to the Arizona Fall League, where he was in the Fall Stars, lowest ERA among a starter there, and now is in Double-A. And in the words of Kyle Teal, he is a freaking dude, at least in terms of the perception that guys have had with his performance thus far. 2.25 ERA through the first 24 innings this season, and putting himself in an interesting spot and with a very different path than that Meyer, Teal, Anthony group. So it's a kind of cool story that's unfolding there.
I want to ask you real quick, up at AAA, Nico Cavadas hit 9 home runs now. He's got 11-something OPS, 25-year-old first baseman, corner infielder out of Notre Dame. Is he making a case for more attention?
Absolutely. It has to be when you're hitting the ball that hard, that consistently. You certainly are, particularly given that he's made some nice, he's been prone to huge strikeout numbers in the past. He did a really good job of working to cover a hole at the top of the strike zone, being able to get to fastballs at the top of the strike zone in the offseason. And that's led to a better approach, a better swing path against all pitch types, except he's still struggling a lot against breaking balls. So it's questionable whether or not the Red Sox would fear calling him up and having him be exposed a little bit if on that secondary stuff. But he's putting himself in position to be the subject of conversation about whether or not he can make a difference in a lineup that needs more thunder.
All right, Red Sox on the road, St. Louis, then to Tampa. You will be in Tampa, correct?
You bet I will.
You only picked the marquee ballparks to attend, so the Trop obviously is.
Well, it's inspired, I think, by the nearby Dali Museum. So I'll be thinking about the persistence of memory while watching the roof, kind of mentally, just imagining it dripping down into nothingness.
Yes, we'll have stories of Shea Hillenbrand catwalk shots next week. But until then, he'll join us next week from Tropicana Field, or at least from St. Pete. He is Alex Spear. I am Tom Caron. We will catch you next time. But thanks for catching us this time on 310 to Left.